Here. Okay. Welcome to Conversations with Marty, our little honest answer conversations. Sitting here with Danny McCullars. You are the finance director for the city of Anniston?
That's correct, Marty.
Wow.
Now, approaching my 10-year anniversary.
10 years with the city of Anniston.
It can be done.
In their finance.
It can be done.
All right. Well, I want to start off with the finance situation in Anniston. Over the past 10 years since you've been in your position, do you see Anniston now financially? Have we weathered the 10-year storm that the country has been in a financial upheaval? Has Anniston weathered the storm better, worse, or on par with the national?
Well, I would characterize it, Marty, as a Anniston is a city. Our tax base is consumer staples. Mm-hmm. We don't have the Dillards, the Nordstroms, the more upscale stores that are typically more affected by the economy. Our sales taxes, which are the bulk of any municipality's revenues, did take a dip in the 2009-2010 fiscal year. A dip, I'm saying $250,000 maybe. Since then, it has recovered last year, and this year we're on target to stay about where we were. Of course, Anniston did increase its sales taxes beginning the 1st of April to match.
By a penny, right?
By a penny. So we now are at 10 cents along with Oxford and Jacksonville, most of Calhoun County. So there will be some additional revenues, which are there are purposes for that.
That penny is earmarked already,
well,
isn't it?
It's not technically earmarked. It has publicly been talked about what the intention of it is. Mm-hmm. And I'll be happy to go into that a little bit further. But as far as the overall financial health of Anniston, in 2010, the city essentially paid off all of its debt.
Wow.
And that was a great position to be in. We still have a little bond participation with the Honda plan as far as regional economic development. But in 2010, we paid off the debt. Of course, that can be good and bad in government. If you do not have debt, you typically have not maintained your infrastructure properly. That's really the trade-off. We are now in the process of constructing replacing a 65-year-old jail, police station,
badly,
which was sorely needed. Yeah. As with anything else, any society starts with proper security.
Right.
So they are laying the pad now. Progress is going to be quick, and we're looking forward to that municipal complex. But that being said, we borrowed the money to do that, having been out of debt, and we're in relatively good position to upgrade our infrastructure from all wards, quite frankly.
There's been I think the word for 2011, I think, was austerity. Worldwide,
it's an ugly word. It's an ugly word.
But globally, everyone was trying to make cuts. Now, what kind of measures did Anniston take over the, what kind of things did you do to keep us out of debt so that we didn't have to have the massive layoffs? And, Anniston could have, there's counties in Alabama with unemployment rates a lot higher than Calhoun County, or municipalities that have higher unemployment rates than Anniston does. What did you do? What does the finance department do to balance that? To keep from having to make these cuts?
Well, we're at the table with pretty much every project that's being talked about. There's been a couple of great things happen in Anniston, and I want to give kudos to our Public Works Department. A couple of years ago, and I'll call him by name. His name is Bob Dean. He came in. He's a native Michigander from the Detroit area.
We won't hold that against him.
We won't hold that against him, although I have to listen closely at times.
Oh yeah.
Especially when he gets excited. But that being said, he's a great guy. He actually came from the Chrysler Corporation. He was in their buildings and maintenance. So he's really been an outstanding addition to the leadership in the city. As a matter of fact, from his first year to his second year, Public Works accomplished an additional 2,000 work orders.
2,000?
2,000 work orders in 1 year. He's got the crews motivated. Morale has never been better, and they're getting work done like you would not believe throughout the city. The entire block that the police department now sits, that was probably the ugliest block in the city of Anniston.
Right.
With all the public works buildings, and it was all piled up. You recall that. He cleared all of that off. We cleared all that off in preparation for bond savings. Just to try to do as much as we can to save the taxpayer the maximum amount of money. But he's working at McClellan. Obviously, there's lots of issues out there as far as infrastructure needs. Issues in Ward 3 and 4. It's an old city. 1883 is a long time, and we still have infrastructure from the early 1900s that is going to have to be addressed at some point in time. So I mean,
one of the buildings that was one of our most historic it's having to come down.
It's down.
It is. It's fully down. Okay. Well, are we going to be able to, staunch that so that we don't have to lose any more of our buildings? I mean, is there a project in the works to try to save some of our older infrastructure buildings? I mean, like one of them, you can still see the theater, so the paint scraped off of the brick, and you can still read where it was one of the buildings was a huge theater.
Lyric.
Yeah.
Vaudeville, so it still says vaudeville up there. Yeah, there's been a reinvigoration, and partially because of this land company, the building that had to come down, it was just not structurally sound. The water was, you could grab it and it turned into sand, so it was just a matter of time there. But partially because of that, partially because it is the right thing to do, the Historic Preservation Commission has become a lot more active. And it's like you say, there's so much history in Anniston, from civil rights all the way back to the early industrial age and speculators, the foundry industry, and no, there has been great attention paid to the needs to preserve, but at the same time, we must go forward.
All right. While we're on that same vein, and now we're fitting to get into some really meaty things here. For those that don't know about Fort McClellan, it was one of the larger military bases in the state. It housed a chemical school, a military police school. It housed boot camps. The government pulled out. Fort McClellan was left abandoned. Anniston was going to clean it up. We were going to make use of it. Now Anniston has a Olympic-size swimming facility, if I'm not mistaken, and they've got. Okay, I'm drawing a blank now on what are we doing with Fort McClellan? This land has been sitting there, and it's been tied up with all these legal shenanigans by councilmen and so forth. The Indians, or excuse me, Native Americans, have even laid claim to some of the land from a tribe as far away as Oklahoma. Are those troubled waters finally calming down, and we're going to be able to actually use some of that land?
Let me tell you where it is from where I sit. In my first year with the city, I went out there, and the Army Transitional Authority was still in place, which was responsible for shutting the base down, pulling their operations out. Not responsible for redeveloping or redoing anything. And I asked the guy, you ride around that place and it's huge. There's a lot of old buildings and all of the unexploded ordnance, so the cleanup is still going on.
Right.
And I asked the guy, how long does it typically take? He said, well, if a community gets a base redeveloped in 20 years, you're probably ahead of the curve. Now, I'm not suggesting we're anywhere near redevelopment, but with the stimulus plan, which you probably have some unique thoughts about the stimulus plan, one of the things that Calhoun County benefited from was being first on the infrastructure priority to finish the Veterans Memorial Parkway.